us crochet a bucket hat in all pink. We will first begin by making a magic circle. Into this magic circle, we're going to chain 2, and then we can start our puff. To make our puff, we're going to yarn over and pull up loops on the hook, and that will be 3. So every time you yarn over, it adds 2 new loops to your hook. We're gonna yarn over till we get 9 loops on the hook, and then we're gonna yarn over. We're gonna pull through all 9 of those loops, and then we're gonna chain 3 and repeat the process 8 times inside the magic ring. So we yarn over, insert the hook into the ring, pull up a loop. We have 3 loops on the hook. Then we're gonna yarn over again and pull up 5 loops on the hook, and then we're gonna yarn over again and pull up and have 7 loops on the hook, and then we're gonna yarn over finally and we'll have 9 loops on the hook, and then we're gonna pull through all 9 loops and then chain 3. And we're just gonna keep doing this all the way around till we get 8 puff stitches inside our magic ring.
To embrace, wonder why I'm so opposite, I'm so backwards and upside down. I'm such a clown, but I've got no frown on my little face. Why am I so freaking cute sometimes? Yeah, I'm such drama queen.
So we're going to fasten off our circle, our magic circle, at the top of the very first puff we made, and then we're going to slip stitch into that chain 3 space that we created, and then chain 2. Now we can fasten off our magic circle or magic ring. Now for round 2, it's a little different. We're going to be working into the chain 3 space with 2 puff stitches into that one chain 3 space. So you're going to make 1 puff stitch, and then you're going to chain 3 as we did in the first round, and then we're going to go back into that same chain 3 space and work another puff stitch. And then into the next stitch, it's different, totally different. So into the next stitch, we're going to make 3 double crochets. That is a regular cluster, granny cluster. So into the next space, we're going to make a regular granny cluster of 3, and into the next space, we're going to make 2 puff stitches again. So make 1 puff stitch, chain 3, and then 1 puff stitch again, and then chain 3, and into the next space, make 3 granny clusters, and just repeat this process over and over again until you get to the very end of your second round.
Every day I drive my car to my little job, and I find some peace in the stations that I throw on. But I wish there was a song with your name as the title. Oh yeah, I wish there was a song with your name as the title. Oh yeah. To embrace, wonder why I'm so opposite, I'm so backwards and upside down.
Okay, so now we're at the end of row 2, and we're just going to finish it off with 3 double crochet, which is 1 granny cluster, and we're going to fasten off at the top of our puff stitch, the very first puff stitch we started with. We're just going to fasten off at the very top of that first chain that we made. We made 3 chains, so the very first chain is where you should insert your hook and make a slip stitch, and then we're going to make another slip stitch into that chain 3 space as we did before, and then chain 2, and then make a puff stitch. So on top of every puff stitch in the previous row, you have to make a new puff stitch increase. So basically the puff stitches are now acting as our edges or our corners, the corner of our square. All 4 corners of our square, that's where the puff stitch is going to be. So now we're going to make 2 puff stitches as before, then chain 2, and then into the granny square cluster, we're going to make like a solid square. So we're working 7 double crochets across. So on the 3 before, into the space before your 3 double crochet, you're going to insert and make 2 double crochets, and then on top of your 3 double crochet, you're going to make 3, and then into the other corner another 2 before your puff stitch is made. So as you can see, you can follow what I'm doing and just make your double crochet all the way across. It's going to be 7 altogether, and into the next space, which is in between your previous puff stitch, you're going to make another 2 puff stitch increases. So 1 puff stitch, chain 3, and into that same space another puff stitch. If you notice, after every puff, before going into the double crochet, we always chain 2, but into every corner where the puff stitches are, we chain 3. So we chain 3 for the edges and 2 before we go into the double crochet side. And we're just going to keep repeating this all the way around until the end.
Tend to embrace, wonder why I'm so opposite, I'm so backwards and upside down. I'm such a clown, but I've got no frown on my little face. Why am I so freaking cute sometimes, yeah? I'm such drama queen, such a drama queen, and I wish there was a song that I could make that'll make you strong, 'cause I'm tired.
Now we're at the end of row 3. We're going to make a slip stitch at the top of the puff stitch as usual, and close that off, and then we're going to chain, and this is what it's looking like so far. It's a nice little square, granny square. I will be using 6 granny squares to make the circle for the head. I thought I didn't want my bucket hat to be too boring and too plain, like just one color, So I decided to mix it up with the regular granny square and a puff stitch square. I made a different type of puff stitch square because if I were to make the original type of puff stitch square, I would have a bigger square than the regular granny square. So what I did is, after going around with the puff for 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, the final row I made a regular double crochet method all through, like you would like you would a regular solid granny square. So I just made that regular around the, and then I took down some stitches, and yeah, that's how I was able to make this.
Wish there was a song with your name
So as I explained before, for row 4 we're just going to make a regular solid granny square stitch all the way across. So instead of 3 double crochets and chain 2, we'll be working in 2 double crochets and chain 2. So, and then we're going to just double crochet all the way across, 1 stitch into every space.
and the moods that I hate tend to
So you know how the previous row was 7 double crochets across? Now we're going to be working in 9 double crochets across. So you're just going to make 1 double crochet into each stitch all the way across until you get to the other corner, and then you're just going to make your 2 double crochets, chain 2 or 3, and 2 double crochets. And as I explained before, we know why the reason why we're doing this is so that the puff stitch square isn't too big or bigger than the regular granny square that I've also made.
make you strong. 'Cause I'm tired of feeling low inside and depressed. I gotta move on. I wish that I could cough out my emotions.
Okay, so now we can put our granny square onto our blocking board. That's the best way to keep your squares straight. As you can see, I have a few regular granny squares, just your regular basic granny square, and then we have our puff stitches. So I made 3 regular granny squares and 3 puff stitch squares, and that's how I made the bucket hat around.
I wish there was a song with your name.
So now we're just going to allow that to settle. When it's ready, we're going to pull it out of the blocking board, and then we're just going to join all of them together. Let me just apologize, I never got to make the video for the circle, the top of the hat, but I will explain how I made that to you. As long as you know how to make the puff stitches and the double crochet. Okay, now so let's move on to joining our squares. So I'll be joining the regular granny square to 1 regular granny square, 1 puff stitch square. So to begin, we're going to insert, first of all, we're going to make a slip knot, and then we're going to insert our hook to the back of the puff stitch loop, like the back loop of the puff stitch square and the back loop of the regular square. And we're just going to do this and make a slip stitch. And we're just going to slip stitch into the back loop of each square. So back of the puff and back of the granny square, we're going to insert our hook into the back loop of the puff and then the back loop of the granny square, and then pull up a loop and slip stitch. Just pull through the loop on the hook. So you can just watch what I'm doing and follow through, and it's really easy. Once you've got the hang of it, it's really hard at the beginning, but as you go along, it gets easier and smoother. You can even hold your squares together, which you would find me doing later on. But at the beginning, I always like laying it flat so I see what I'm doing on both squares. Make sure I'm grabbing every stitch opposite the other stitch.
I wish that I could cough out my emotions in a healthy manner and just become the right person that actually matters. And every day I drive my car to my little job, and I find some peace in the stations that I throw on. But I wish there was a song with your name as the title. Oh yeah, I wish there was a song with your name as the title. Oh yeah.
So yeah, our first joining is done. We're going to go ahead and join the other squares to this until it's a very long line of joined together squares.
I'm such a clown, but I've got no frown on my little face. Why am I so freaking cute sometimes, yeah? I'm such a drama queen, I'm such a drama queen, and I wish there was a song that I could make you strong, 'cause I'm tired of feeling low and sad and depressed. I gotta move on.
Okay, so I wasn't able to make the tutorial for this circle. Something came up and I wasn't able to do it, but I can explain how it's done. As long as you figured out how to make this puff square, then this will be easy, super easy for you. So all you need to do is make, as usual, 8 puff stitches to start in your magic ring, and round 2, you work 2 puff stitch into each of the chain 3 spaces. 2 puff stitch into each space, which would sum up to 16 puffs. So for round 3, it changes into, this was the start where we ended our second row. We ended our second row here, and then we started our new row here by chaining 2 and working into this chain 3 space with your 2 puffs. So on top of every 2 puff, in between every 2 puff, we have another 2 puff. That's our increase. And then into the side of our puffs right here, in between right here, this is our 2 puffs going in here. Then in between this 2 puff and this other 2 puff is a space. So into that space, we're going to make 1 double crochet and continue. And into the next line, it's the same thing. Next row, same thing, but this time you're making 2 double crochet where you have 1 double crochet. So on every double crochet, you increase by 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're just doing this all around for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows. So we're doing this for 7 rows. And yeah, once you've joined all your squares together in a round, you're just going to single crochet along the side of, just single crochet along the sides to join the squares to the circle. And then you fasten off at one, casting off the granny squares here. And then you can start making your flaps using half double crochets. And that's it. Feel free to ask any questions in a comment. If you have any requests on something you would like to learn how to make, let me know and I'll get to it as soon as possible.
I'm so backwards.